For a person like myself, Dr. Kimbro, I was, like I said earlier, I was a C student, and I didn't want to go the college route necessarily.
Yeah.
For people, and I remember Dr. Kimbro, my high school guidance counselor, when I
Yeah.
was in the 11th grade, she told me, based on your grades, Sean, the most you'd amount to would be a warehouse worker.
Unbelievable.
And that was not the right
Wow.
thing, I
Yeah.
think, to
Yeah.
teach a kid.
Yeah.
But I did go on to the Air Force. I was the only person
Yeah.
in DeKalb County selected to go to the Air Force
Yeah.
from the whole school district. And I had a background in aerospace propulsion, aeronautics, and jet engines. So I say that to say that I'm not like a dummy.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend or say to that student who can pull an A if they wanted to, but just didn't see
I'm
that?
saying be introspective.
Okay.
Ask yourself some critical questions. Question number one, what would you attempt to do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Number two, what would you do if no one ever paid you? What would you do without compensation? What would you do without numeraire? What would you do if no one, paid you for your effort? And then last but not least, what makes you come alive? What one task or one assignment or what really gets your juices flowing? Because as my dear friend Simon Bailey says, what the world needs are people who come alive. People who are extraordinary, because those are the game changers, and that's who we remember. Now, you said that you were a C student. I tell my my students all the time, I'm glad you're smacking accounting in the mouth, and I'm glad you got a 98 average in micro and macroeconomics, and you are beating statistics in the head. But sometimes my sharpest students, sometimes my most capable students, sometimes my, best students, well, they can be found daydreaming, looking out the window. See, again, going back to what I tell my students, I'll be 69 years old in December, and I've been around the block a couple of times. And, what I've seen is sometimes A students work for B students. And C students, they employ A and B students. And those D students who are hanging around the promenade right now, not in class, well, Sean, we got buildings named after them.